Welcome to the Midland Money Mindset. This is a podcast that's all about getting your mind right when it comes to all things money. In every episode, we go deep with engaging guests who provide tangible takeaways and a whole lot of joy along the way. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I enjoyed having them. Let's dive into today's show. Well, I have the pleasure today of being with Lauren Cobello, CEO and founder of Leverage with Media. Thank you for joining us today, Lauren. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. One of my favorite people in the world, you and Denise.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much. Thank you. So listen, I want to give our listeners a little bit of background about who you are. I know Leverage with Media is a newer venture for you, but I want to give our listeners a little bit of background. You know, what got you to the point of where you are today with Leverage with Media? And we're going to talk a lot about that today. So I just want to get a little idea of your background up until that point.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm so excited to be here. This is something that I've been looking forward to. And so basically, I got my start as an online entrepreneur 18 years ago, which seems like forever ago. I really was in a lot of debt, and I wanted to teach other people. You know, once I had learned strategies on how to get out of debt, learned strategies on meal planning and debt reduction, I started a website to teach other people how to do it. I actually was teaching coupon seminars at a local newspaper company, which had turned into television opportunities, which turned into a website. And so I started my website, which actually is still up and running, called IamThatLady.com. And I really was focusing on that. And through my story of, you know, getting out of debt through using meal planning and creative debt reduction tips, I started getting a lot of media attention. And, you know, I capitalized on that very strategically and wrote 3 books, became a best-selling author, became a national TV personality, and was a regular on the Today Show for 10 years, was regular on the Rachael Ray Show for 6 years. I was a regular on the Dr. Oz Show before that closed down, GMA, Nightline, Inside Edition, you know, all of the national shows, and really helped millions of Americans get out of debt. And, you know, I think there's always a kind of a natural progression of like, what do I want to do next? You know, I feel like I've done so much teaching other people how to get out of debt. And, you know, I always would think to myself, if I can teach other entrepreneurs and business owners how to use books and media to scale their businesses, I would be like the happiest person in the world, because I love television, I love media, I love books, I love business. And so I launched Leverage with Media PR to do just that. Basically teach people what I've been doing the past 15 years, and, you know, grew $1 million companies from it.
Wow. So, you know, how did you end up on air? You know, you said you were on, you know, Today's Show, Dr. Oz, regular on the Rachael Ray. How did you end up for an example? How did you end up as a regular on the Rachael Ray Show? How does that come to be?
Yeah. So I think, you know, now being a PR agency owner, I have a lot of people come to me and they say, you know, I want to get on the Today Show. And I'm like, yeah, we all want to get on the Today Show, right? All of us, we want to get on the Rachael Ray Show. We want to go on Kelly and Mark. We want all those things. For me, I had to get really good about being really good on local media, get really good at building up my social media following, and get really good at crafting my own story. So for me, you know, becoming a best-selling author, I can look at my business before being an author and after being an author as very, very different businesses. And so that's why, like, I always encouraging people to write books, because it really helps you scale. And I'm sure you can see that in your own business.
Sure, it elevates you.
It elevates you completely. And so for me, what it really came down to was being really good on camera, like perfecting being good on camera, watching every single one of my scripts, watching every one of my segments, and learning how to be the best guest. I also hired a PR firm. I hired a PR firm who had great contacts, and I paid a lot of money. And I worked with that PR agency for 5 years. And we worked and made magic together. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that part too, is that I invested a lot of money
Hmm.
in learning that skill and perfecting it. And then learning how to be really good on camera and work with the host, and so that they keep asking you back.
Did you enjoy one of the shows more than the others, or were they all the same?
Rachael Ray Show, 100% my favorite show. One of my favorite things, first of all, me and Rachel were both New Yorkers. We both grew up in the Capital District, about a half an hour from each other. So yeah, I actually used to watch her on my local news when she had like her very first TV show growing up. Like we used to watch her in the morning. So like, me and her got along really, really well. And her show I loved because they would like cook, they had chefs on staff. So when you go in, they cook you breakfast, like a
Hmm.
homemade breakfast. So they knew
Right.
I ate gluten free. So they would make me a gluten free breakfast, like homemade
Amazing.
every time I went in. I also loved Hoda and Jenna. I've been on that show probably about 50 times, and I was a regular on that show for many, many years. And I adore Hoda, Jenna, and Kathy Lee. I adore their production staff, top notch team to work with. Very, very difficult to work to do that show. You have to be like the
Hmm.
top of the top. But those two like stand out to me that I absolutely loved.
Wow. So, you talked about it earlier that if you could help others, right, get me on air, media appearances, help them understand about writing books, that would be your jam. You would love doing that all day long. So, I mean, was that really the main and only impetus behind launching Leverage with Media, or is there another why behind that, or more to that why, I should say?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. So the number one thing was that this is a passion of mine. I could talk about television and writing books and producing shows and building businesses off of this all day long. Like it literally lights me up and gets me so excited. The second thing is that I always saw this difference just because, being an online entrepreneur, an author, a content creator, I always saw that there was kind of like a gap between them and like PR agencies. I felt like PR agencies were really old school and they didn't really understand a lot. Like they didn't really understand television a lot of times, and they also didn't understand like that a lot of these media opportunities we can get ourselves. So like
Hmm.
I there was just like this always this gap. And so I thought, you know what? Like I want to fill that gap and not just do PR, but also like book strategy launching, coaching. How do you get a book out to the world? And then, one of the newer things that we added this year is, helping them book speaking engagements. Like, how do we actually make a strategy using PR as one of the vehicles, not just PR as the thing, but how do we use like writing a book, using PR to get, media clips, creating sizzle reels, creating a speaker demo reel, and then actually get our clients speaking engagements to make more money or help them build courses or help them, leverage their businesses in whatever way they want it to. And that's why I used the word leverage with media PR is I
Hmm.
don't want people to just get PR. I want them to use it to make more money. And so I kind of combined my brand coaching with hiring like amazing publicists to create a very unique agency where we're coaching people and then also getting them like amazing press, not just for the sake of press, but to actually build their businesses.
Sure. Well, you're definitely passionate about it. You can hear it in your voice as you talk about it, and I'm sure that resonates through as well. One of the things we talked about earlier was how a book can elevate, or in your case in particular, it elevated your personality, you as a content creator and author, as a expert, right? And similarly, the book we came out with, Financial Planning Made Personal, that I launched in early 2023, has done the same thing. And, I know that you are pretty passionate that the book or a book is really the new business card. Why do you feel that way, and why are you so passionate about that?
Yeah, so a lot of times, like, I always think of it as like a business card into the next phase of your business, right? So you have a message, you have a word that you want to get out there, and you want to be seen as the expert of the person providing that information. But it's hard to just say it, especially if you're doing speaking engagements, or especially if you have a podcast, or especially if you have a website. It's hard to put it all into one encompassing paragraph, per se. So when you put it in a book form and then say, you know what, like, I can tell you my elevator pitch, or I can tell you what I'm good at, but here's my book. Like, this is everything that I teach, and this is everything that I think. And then you can brand yourself as that. It helps with branding, it helps with solidifying you as the market leader in that industry. And then as you go and start doing media and real PR, you can brand yourself as the expert as that topic, whatever your book is. And I think really when you think about it this way too, is that you have to be really strategic about what book you write as well. And a lot of times in the PR agency, I turn people down from becoming clients of ours all the time because they've written the wrong book for their business. And you have to be really strategic about when you're writing your book. The beginning is like your client, right? You're the person that you want to be talking to, the reader. But then you also have to be thinking about why are you writing it? What's the end goal? Are you going to be selling this at speaking engagements? You have to have both in that
Hmm.
book. And so it really is a business card to not only like the people that you're going to be speaking to, but also to corporations maybe that want to book you as a speaker, or media opportunities that see you now as more of an authority because you have a book. And authors are a lot easier to get booked on TV.
Right. Yeah, I think those are great points. And, recently I was on a panel where you moderated at FinCon 2023. And
Mhm.
we had a unique situation where we were in a room with a lot of content creators. And we asked the room, how many people or, have written a book. And then we asked how many people wish they could write a book. And I think it was split down the middle 50-50. 50% had written a book, 50% had wanted to write a book. And I would imagine if we polled all of our listeners, we probably would have a much lower percentage of folks that have written a book, a much larger percentage of people that would like to write a book. But it's a bit of a daunting task. So what advice do you have for someone who's thinking about writing a book or sees the value in writing a book? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a book is kind of one of those things that a lot of people have. They're like, I know I have a book in me. I don't know if you've ever heard people say that all the time. I got a book in me
Sure.
somewhere. And it's like, yeah, you probably do, but why would you want to write it? What's the purpose? And a lot of times, especially entrepreneurs, I hear this all the time. They become very emotional. Like, I want to write this because blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense sales wise. Like, either
Right.
your title has a ton of swear words in it, and that's not going to get you the media attention that you want because nobody's going to book you if there's a swear word in the title, or you're just writing it out of spite or revenge to somebody else. So those are just a couple of examples of what not to do. But if you have a book in you, I actually started a book. It's called Book Cred. It's a coaching program which helps you write the right book for your business. And in
Hmm.
this program, we talk about how do you get the idea that's in your head and get it down and write an outline and make it so that it's lining up with your business goals, but also the future of your business so that it lasts 5 to 10 years. And that's a really key thing. Also, like, have a coach. There's so many book coaches out there that
Hmm.
it's not as hard as you think it is. I think that it's just one of those like things that like people want to do, but they just don't know what they don't know until they realize they don't know it, right?
Sure.
They
It's
there's
hard getting it out of your head and onto paper.
it's
It's very
so
difficult,
hard.
or on Word document, or where however you're going to start
It's
putting this thing together.
It's so hard, and I always use AI with idea creation. Like, sometimes I'll just put out there, like, "This is what's in my head. Can you please give me, like, 10 bullet points of a great title topic?" Or something like that, and it really helps like get everything out so that it makes sense, because sometimes we don't,
Hmm.
it just doesn't make sense. But if you have somebody demystify the book launch process and like how do you actually do it, I think that's something that holds people back a lot too, of like, well, how do I even write it? Like
Yeah.
how do I format it? Where do I get it out there? How do I even sell it? And there's so many programs out there that can help you, and coaches that can help you demystify that whole process. So it makes it a lot more edible for you to get out there and do it.
Now, one other thing I want you to share, because I know you have a very strong opinion about this as well, right? There's a difference between a book and a pamphlet,
Yes.
right? Can you explain for those that are thinking about writing a book, so they understand that they should write a book and not put together a pamphlet, and
Yeah.
explain to them what that means exactly?
Yeah, if in your head you're thinking to yourself, "I'm just gonna write a quick read," or "I'm just gonna write something like throw something together," I am going to urge you not to do that, because what that's gonna turn out to be is a pamphlet, like what Larry was saying, is that we as readers, we want a book. We want a book that looks like it can go and sell, on a shelf somewhere. Now,
Hmm.
in order for you, if 5 years down the road, you decide that this book that you have written, you want to do something with it. You want to promote it. You want to get it on a Barnes and Noble shelf. It needs to look a certain way. You can't just throw any book out there. So, write a book of at least 150 pages, please. Like, don't make it under 100. It needs to be between 150 to 200 pages. I mean, even if it's like 125 but formatted correctly, like you're going to be okay. But
Right.
you need it to be like a book, like that it feels like a book and it looks like a book. If you're saying something in your head like I want it to be a quick read, to me that means that you're not taking it seriously. To me that means that you're not all in, and that you're not 100% confident that you're going to do anything with this. And then you're also
Right.
thinking like, "Oh, people aren't going to read this." Yes, they will. If you put together a book, they're going to read it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, what are you, so let's say you're at a point you wrote a book, right? Or maybe you don't have a book written yet, but I think to your point, it's a lot easier to get in the media and get out there if you have a book. So, what are your best tips for those who want to get their message out in the media? What are the best ways for them to do that? I would imagine number one is write a book and
Right.
make sure that you're in these parameters that you just mentioned. But beyond that, what's the next steps to be, able to get in the media?
Yeah, so actually I got a lot of national media before my like main book. And this is why I say main book. I wrote the pamphlet first, like the small book. And I wrote it, and it was like, "Oh, I'll just like write this small book to like get it out there and like make money." And I didn't know what I was doing, you know? So like I say this with passion because I've done it, and it flopped. And I see people do it and they flop, and it just happens over and over again. So I actually did a lot of national media before my book with Hachette came out, which I got a major book deal with Hachette with my last book. I did a ton of national media. So there's kind of like a twofold strategy. Is you can get a ton of national media and media before the you go to get a traditional book deal. If you have large enough social media followings, and if you have large enough email lists and following on there, and you have a big social media follow, or a big following, like you've been on some national television shows, there's a very good chance you can get a traditional book deal with a large advance. And so my strategy at the very beginning of doing national was, I'm going to do all of this national TV so that I have a ton of information to put in my marketing plan to send off in my literary proposal and my book proposal to all of the big major publishing companies. Because when you're putting together a book proposal, they have like a marketing section, and they want to
Right.
know, where are you going to market this? So I was already on the Today Show. I was already on Dr. Oz. I was already on Fox and Friends. And so that was my strategy. And because of that, I got a really large book deal. And then I was able to use those same media pieces, places where I had been, to launch the book to a bestseller. So that's one strategy. Um, so you don't necessarily have to have the book, but when you're doing that strategy, I'm a big believer in the story brand method. And you need to have a story. You can't just come out and say, I am a health and wellness coach, and I just want to talk about this, this, and this. For national television, they want to hear your story. They want to know, like, why are you a health and wellness coach? Is it because you lost 500 pounds and you were on the brink of death? And then now
Right.
you have come off the brink of death and you use these methods to like save yourself. So you have to get really, really in depth with your own branding, your own story of how this helped you. And that's one of the things we dig deep with our clients now is what is the story behind this? Like, we
Hmm.
can't just talk about the talking points all the time. We need to really go into the story behind why you're the expert, and that's really what national television wants right now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something I think you've said this before, even today. These are things that you certainly can do on your own, but if you want to kind of add fuel to the fire and make it happen a little bit more quicker, maybe a little bit more often, that's where firms like yours come in and are a healthy investment in order to make that happen. Is that a fair
Exactly.
assessment?
I would say so. I mean, I was able to get some national TV by myself, because I had a great following. But when I hired a PR firm, that's when I got the regular spots. That's when I
Hmm.
started getting spokesperson deals. Um, that's when I started getting the larger. I don't think I would have ever gotten Rachael Ray by myself, to be honest. She negotiated that for me. She had connections with the Today Show and GMA, and she also, I mean, you can attest to this. Like, I also was running a business at the same
Hmm.
time, and I have 4 kids, and
Right.
I'm a single mom. So,
Right.
managing media can be like a full-time job sometimes. So,
Sure.
I needed somebody to take that off of my plate and just say, "Can you just like tell me where to be and I'll show up and do the segment?" Like, I don't have time to pitch
Hmm.
because like
Agreed. I don't think
it's a
most
lot.
entrepreneurs who are, interested or concerned about, running their practice really want to do that. So I think
No.
you have to eye it as an expense, a marketing investment, and probably, handle it in that way because it'll just happen that much more quickly.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
so now you have this, national media appearance, right? And I think a lot of people are nervous. They secure that first spot maybe, and then they know that they have to go to such and such a station or show up, and they have to be ready to get on camera, maybe for the first time.
Mhm.
How can people get camera ready? What are some tips that you can give our listeners that if they get that opportunity to go on air, that it'll alleviate that stress of them worrying about being camera ready? What are some things that they can do to make that an easier thing for them to accomplish?
Yeah, great question. So guys, I always recommend to wear, well, everybody, no matter who you are, we'll just start with everybody in general. Colors matter, and so do patterns. So if you are wearing something with small patterns or plaids or polka dots or things like that, don't wear them. Most TV stations now are in HD, which means that they want bright colors. So your shirt color is perfect.
Mhm.
Although if you wore that on TV, I would yell at you and say, "Larry, it's got your logo on it."
Right.
That to them is kind of like a slap in the face of like, you come on this show and then you're going to wear your logo and like get free advertising off of us, right? So don't wear things with like company logos on them. You show up as a representative to help them with the segment. Don't go on with like all your merch and swag and like, pins with your name on it and like,
Mhm.
don't be tacky, right? Show up in professional gear and treat it as you respect the house you're going into. So, bright colors, orange, yellow, green, blue, yellow, red, bright primary colors, always a good choice. Um, Guys, don't wear, if you can avoid wearing like a black suit. and black shirt underneath, that would be great. Obviously, like a darker gray is always good, just so you don't blend in if they have like a black background. Don't wear green like at all because you don't know if they have a green screen. Like remember
Right.
that one Good Day New York segment that you did? And it
Hmm.
was a green screen behind you, but we didn't.
I think it was Yahoo, actually.
Was it
I think it was
Yahoo?
Yahoo. Yeah,
Yeah,
they put those trees in behind me and it was a green screen. I had no idea. I
you
probably
had
would have
no idea.
disappeared
Yeah, you
if
had
I
no
was wearing
idea.
green.
Exactly. Even on this segment, they didn't even tell us. And
No.
so there was a green screen. So you never know if they're going to green screen you. So just don't wear green because then your only thing that'll show is your head. Um, Girls, get your do your hair, do your makeup. If you don't know how to do makeup, there's this great app called Glam Squad. It's like Uber for makeup artists and hair artists. So you can go to New York and order a makeup artist right to the studio and they can do it right
Wow.
there. Girls, cover up. You don't need to show anything below, above the knees or below your collarbone. We don't need to see any of that. You're there to be professional.
Right.
And so those are just some tips on how to be like really good and camera ready.
Yeah, and in full disclosure, those of you watching on YouTube, the background that we have now that we did in our office in our office studio, a lot of that was from feedback from Lauren. We used to have a black backdrop, and some of those things that she said were issues we were having issues with, and this is a much brighter and homier way of doing live appearances or even recording our podcast with guests like Lauren. So thank you for that, Lauren. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
So let's turn personal for a minute. Even though you personally stepped back from being in the media, you recently shared the story of you downsizing your home. Literally downsized, we're getting rid of things. Can you share a little bit about that story and what it's meant to you in your personal life?
Yeah. So I actually have a little bit of an update on that. So you'll be the first to
Okay.
hear. So I've owned my house for 15 years, and it was the house. I went through a divorce, and it was the house that me and the kids lived in with their dad, and I just felt like I wanted a fresh start. I wanted a fresh change, and the house was so big and it was old and it was still in great condition, but there were just a lot of things that like needed to be repaired and I was just kind of over it. And so I told the kids, I said, kids, my kids are 10, 12, 14 and 18. And I said to them, listen, we're going to sell the house. First I tried to convince them to move into our camper and that didn't go so well. I'm like, we'll save so much money, but no. So I sold my house and we downsized from a 3,000 square foot house into like a 950 square foot rental. First time
Mhm.
I've rented since I was like 20, maybe. I think I bought my first house when I was 20. And to say it's been a culture shock is like an understatement. It's been very difficult and like humbling. And so this whole year we have been renting and I sold like 75% of my belongings and I just needed a break. I just needed a
Mhm.
break to like regroup, do some healing, um and just not be bothered with like things breaking around the house and as a single woman like it just got a lot, to be honest.
They're distractions.
Very much distractions and I had
And it
just
could be
started to.
business or from the family, from the kids, right? It takes away from
Exactly.
something. Yeah.
Exactly, and I really wanted to be able to, focus on the kids, which has always been my priority, but then also, I was building leverage with media, and I really wanted to be able to focus on that instead of, like, fixing like, last year, my front steps fell off, and I rebuilt them myself because 'cause I'm like,
Oh, boy.
I'm not paying $2,000 when I
Mhm.
could do this YouTube for 400, so, I just did stuff like that, so but the update is that, after a year of renting, I finally felt like it was time to buy, and I actually just signed the deal on a new house today, this morning.
Oh, wow. All right.
And,
So are you gonna be upsizing again now?
yes, a little bit, but the house is, like, practically brand new.
Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It's everything I've ever wanted, and it's a testament to to that, like, I had to let go of something good and downgrade a little bit more for something great.
Sure.
And, so it was definitely a learning lesson for all of us, and it's been a nice break this year, to not have to worry about homeownership, but I'm ready now. Like, the 950 feet feels a little bit smaller than when I first moved in.
Oh boy. So are you going to be buying the kayak and the boat and all that stuff back now?
I have the kayaks still, but, oh,
Oh, you never
definitely
got rid
that
of 'em. Okay.
yeah, I never got rid of the kayaks. The boat, oh, 100%, like, that boat is coming back.
Oh, all
Yes.
right. All right. Well,
Yep.
thank you for that update. So listen, I also know on the personal side you're a hockey fan, which is something
Yes.
that's kind of connected us as well. So I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Who are you rooting for the Stanley Cup 2023-2024?
Rangers.
All right. Well, see, we're even more aligned. We're more aligned. The question is, do you think they really have an opportunity to pull it out and win it this year?
Of course.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm
I'm
gonna
I'm
hold
al
I'm not as confident as you.
I am always optimistic. That's what I have to say. So,
Okay.
I grew up a Red Wings fan. So, I grew up where we had the junior team of the Red Wings called the
Adirondack weren't the
yeah.
Adirondack Wings? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually played on a female Red Wings team. And
Okay.
so we skated in the same rink as them. We watched a lot of our players go up to Detroit. And so we have a lot of fond memories as a family. And my dad was our coach. So yeah,
That's all.
I love it. But I'm also a big Bills fan too. So I just have to throw that out there.
I don't know if they're gonna be as successful
I
this
don't
year as
I'm
they,
I'm
have been in years past, but
I feel like this year's gonna be a Bills year, unfortunately.
you think this year is gonna be a Bills year?
Like as if typical
Oh,
Bills.
normal
Yeah,
Bills year.
yeah.
I gotcha, yeah. Well, I feel like this is gonna be a normal Rangers year in my
Yeah.
opinion, but we'll see. Maybe things will change by time this airs and the end of the season rolls
You just
around. Who
never
knows?
know, Larry, you gotta always have hope.
Yeah.
Gotta
Well,
have
I had
hope.
one of the most, well-known female hockey players ever on this show. We had Manon Rhéaume, who was at the time, the only female hockey player that ever signed an NHL contract, and she played for, Florida, and, she was on our show. And I
That's
think,
awesome.
ironically, I think she's involved somehow with the, Detroit Red Wings program, unless she's moved since, we had our conversation, but
You
there
wanna know
must
a
be some
funny little
ties there.
hockey story?
Sure,
Is
go
so
ahead.
my dad was there, the night that, the Miracle hockey game happened in Lake Placid,
Yep,
and him and his buddy snuck into the bathroom, and they were, like, hiding on the toilet seats, um, so that they could sneak into the rink, but they got caught and kicked out last minute. So he was outside the stadium, but so that's always like a fun little thing that he's like, I almost made it. I almost made it into the game, but they got kicked out.
that,
They got
that
found out.
changed hockey forever, especially in the United States. Changed
It
hockey forever, that
it
event.
totally did. He said that they were outside and people were yelling the score like telephone. Whenever they scored, like it would go through like all the
That's
layers, and then
funny.
they would go outside and everybody would scream. And he said it was pretty magical
Wow,
just being outside.
amazing. I'm sure it was, and I'm sure they
Yeah.
had a lot of fans stacked outside. So,
Yep.
Lauren, it's been a pleasure having you on, and we ask each of our guests, because we're all about joy here on the Midland Money Mindset. We ask each of our guests the same last question, which is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Oh, okay. So one of the things that I did today that brought me joy is that I set my laundry out for my laundry lady. I know that's so silly, but
It sounds joyful to me.
I get my laundry done every week because I'm, single mom of four and it just builds up. But one of the other things is that I signed the
I thought
deal
that was
for
coming.
my house, and
Nice.
on to new beginnings. Because one of the other reasons why I decided to purchase again was I've had my office outside of my house for the past year, And I really miss working from home. You know, in the summer when the kids are home, it got really, really difficult for me to balance everything. And
Sure.
so I'm excited to bring the office back home. And that's really my happy place. So I'm excited to do
Amazing.
that.
Great stuff. And we wish you the best of luck because we know for our listeners that aren't in New York, it's a lot more difficult buying a home or selling a home in New York than a lot of other states. So I wish you the best of luck in that process. Now, Lauren, I'm going to share with everybody now, Lauren is our PR company. So if you want to get an idea of what she can do, just check out our social media, check out what we've been doing out there in the media, and that'll give you a direct indication of how Lauren and her team may be able to assist you. But if people want to learn more about you, learn more about leverage with media, connect, we'll have all of your information in the show notes. But what's the easiest and the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so they can just go to our website, leveragewithmedia.com. There's a button right on the homepage that says book a call. And when they book a call, they'll meet with me directly and we'll just kind of talk about, what their goals are and, how we can help them with their media needs and even with, helping them write their next book or their first book.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for your
Thank
time. It's been a
you.
pleasure spending this 30 plus minutes with you and sharing with our listeners, and enjoy the day.
Thank you.